Hello, and welcome to episode 10 of the BigSlice Gamescast. I am your host, Corey Stroby, and with me I have Jessica.
Hello.
So I have a lot of things on here to talk about, but we'll just jump right into the first one. This is Nintendo's new fitness game is Ring Fit Adventure. Now, last week we talked about how they kind of leaked a little, or not really leaked, but they actually showed this.
They teased.
A little bit of tease, and then I think the next day after we recorded this, they showed this this game for it, and it was like a 7-minute presentation, and I'll have the link in the description to show. I'll have a link in the description for the actual presentation video. It's Nintendo levels of weird and awkward, but it looks really cool. Okay, so this is, it'll make you uncomfortable a little bit. But yeah, so this is Nintendo's new fitness game is Ring Fit Adventure. This is by James Batchelor over at gamesindustry.biz. So I'll post a link of the video so that you can go watch it. But the article says, following a tease during last week's Nintendo Direct, the platform holder has unveiled the Switch's answer to Wii Fit. Ring Fit Adventure is, as the title suggests, an adventure game in which players explore a fantasy world and battle enemies. The difference here is it requires them to physically move. The game comes with the new Ring-Con accessory and an accompanying leg strap, which each house one of the Switch's detachable Joy-Cons. The Ring-Con is flexible and contains electronic sensors to detect both player movement and the shapes it's being built into. The main adventure mode gets players active while combat disguises exercises such as squats and stretches as offensive and defensive moves. There's also a quick play mode for shorter workouts and to encourage multiple players to swap in and out, as well as simple and set modes that enable them to just focus on the exercises rather than the adventure. There's even a silent mode which concentrates on quieter fitness routines for those playing late at night. Ring Fit Adventure launches on October 18th and will come bundled with both the Ring-Con and leg strap peripherals. There's no word on price as of yet. And I don't think there's any price still yet.
No. My guess is it'll probably be, because Wii Fit was, I want to say, $89. So it'll probably be somewhere around there. Because I mean, even the Nintendo, the VR Labo, whatever it's called,
I might actually have.
I know that's like $79.99. I think
that was like, what was it, like 80?
Yeah.
99. I might actually have a price here. Excuse me. According to Games Radar, they have it written down. Let me make sure that this isn't a guess. So they have Ring Fit Adventure will launch on October 18th for $79.99, UK price to be announced, including a copy of the game, a Ring-Con, and a leg strap. So it sounds like it's going to be $80.
Yeah, I mean that's roughly about what I thought it was going to be.
By the look of it, $80 might be a pretty good thing. I mean, you are getting extra peripherals for it, and the peripherals do seem like they're very sturdy.
I mean, I would hope so. They're used for working out.
It's built for all that movement, I guess.
Yeah.
I was just saying that it looks like it's going to be $79.99. Because I mean, which sounds like a pretty good price because it's. It looks like the band or whatever it is. The what do they say? The Ring-Con is. Mm-hmm. It looks like it's pretty sturdy. So I don't think it'll break very easily.
I would hope not because it's made for working out. So.
Right. Plus, you can see how I guess how you get pretty rough with it. So it's like it looks like it's built with that in mind. So it should last a pretty long time.
Yeah. It's still kind of, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, it seems kind of expensive. Because like I said, the Wii Fit was $89.99, and that came with an entire board. So the $10 difference, I don't know. But at the same time, I know video games now are way more expensive, considering most games are like 50 or 60, right? So I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, the average price of a game is $60. So adding like a $20 for the extra peripheral is pretty reasonable.
Are you thinking of getting it?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I might end up getting it a little bit later because that is around the time I move. Like that's the 18th, the October 18th, which is the day that it comes out, is that Friday, is the Friday of that week. And the day before that is my last day working at the music center.
Okay.
So if I do get it, I probably won't have time to use it because I'll be packing and moving and everything.
Right.
But I'm sure it would be cool to have at the new apartment too. Because I'm sure my downstairs neighbors would love that. Well, plus, yeah, I have no idea how that would work I mean, they do have that silent mode, which would definitely be
doable. I'm sure as long as you're not jumping up and down, in like what I call like the relaxing hours. So like anytime after 6 p.m. for the most part, unless it's a weekend. I'm sure they wouldn't mind. Like I have the elephants upstairs that I hear constantly, but as long as they're not like crazy after 6 p.m., I don't mind as much.
But yeah, I want to get it. Like I said, it's going to depend on the apartment situation. If it's making too much noise for the people below us, then we'll try the silent mode and see if that works. But otherwise, I might have to wait to get it like once I move back. If I even move back, I'm not even sure what's happening after the job's done yet.
Right.
But yeah, I want to get it. It's going to depend on the apartment situation. What about you? Are you able to get it, or?
I don't know if I'll get it when it comes out. I think I might give it a couple weeks to see how well it does. Like read reviews and stuff like that. And then I have a wedding to work on October 26th, so I might use some wedding money to get it. But I am interested. I mean, I go to the gym 4 times a week at like minimum. But come wintertime, if it's like snowing and crazy and super cold and I don't want to go outside, it would be nice to have something at home that can be more fun than your usual YouTube video.
Right.
So I am interested, but I think I'm going to wait to see how well it does. Because so watching the video, once I got past the soulless male character, the thing I think I liked about Wii Fit was that there were so many things you could do. And I know we don't know a lot about this game still, but it was like there were like aerobics and the boxing, and you could do the running on the trail with your Miis and the cats and stuff, or dogs. I mean, it just seemed like there was so much you could do. And this one, it's the adventure mode, which is cool. But then at the same time, it also leaves me wondering, like, if I beat the adventure mode, am I going to still want to play the game? Like, or is it going to be like, I've beaten the game and now I don't want to work out on the game anymore?
My guess is they don't have a whole lot of details on how the adventure mode actually works, but my guess is based on the type of game that it is, it's most likely going to have sort of roguelike, or maybe just roguelite style levels. So like you go into adventure mode and it's a little bit like when you play Smash Bros. Melee. Like each time you do adventure mode, it's gonna feel a little bit different because it's with a different character, but it still has replay value either way. Even though you're still playing the same adventure mode, it's still fun each time you do it. At least that was my experience with it. But with this, I think maybe because of the monster encounters and stuff that you do like workouts as part of the combat, like they said in the article and in the video, I feel like the adventure mode is going to have some kind of replay value. So it's not going to be like your typical main story campaign. It's going to be like maybe a randomized adventure. So like each time you do it, it's going to be a little bit different. You'll have different encounters or different, maybe a little bit of a different route. I'm sure we'll see more about it later.
I mean, if that's the case, then that's fine. I just, like I said, like with Wii Fit, there was something that I could constantly go back to, and I could either replay something if I really liked it, or I could try something new.
Yeah.
And this one, because there's so little that we still know about it, I just don't know if there's going to be enough replay that's going to make me want to keep coming back to work out on the game. Because that's the whole point, is to work out.
Right.
If I'm not going to want to work out with the game, then why buy it?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one of the things to look at in terms of like the game's design, is just like if when you're playing it, okay, there it goes. Audacity froze for a second. Sorry.
Oh, I was like, are you having like a meltdown or?
No, I was looking at the screen. It distracted me from it froze, and I was like, oh no, are you gonna crash? No, it hiccuped and just continued. What was I saying? Oh, so
The gameplay.
The way that I was kind of thinking about it is it's essentially an adventure game disguised as a workout, or excuse me, a workout disguised as an adventure game.
Right.
When I actually watched the video, it looked like it was more. It wasn't really disguising itself as anything. It's still clearly a workout, but it adds a new element so that when you're working out, you're getting this. There's more to it than just doing the workout. Whereas in Wii Fit, that's what you were doing. That's the game is. But I mean, Wii Fit that's what it was supposed to be.
Right.
With this,
that is a good point. Wii Fit was just more about trying to get kids active. Versus this one where it actually, like, you can tell that they're trying to focus like more on like your core, which is a big deal. And I mean, the fact that there's, I mean, not the board, and you can have like the leg strap, and like, so there's all the different positions versus just being confined to the one board, I think will make a good difference too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I'm still on the fence. I'll probably, if it comes out October 18th, and by the time that I have the money to actually possibly purchase it, there should be a good amount of reviews out. So I think it'll work out. Yeah,
I think overall I might end up getting it. It'll just depend on the apartment situation for me.
I think you should be fine either way, honestly. Like, worst case scenario, you just keep it in silent mode. But I mean, most apartments you can get away with a little bit of noise. So
yeah, so as long as we're not jumping and slamming stuff and whatnot.
If anything, it will teach you to jump and run in place and do a whole bunch of things quietly, which is kind of the way you're supposed to do it anyway. You're not supposed to be throwing yourself everywhere. You're supposed to use control. So it actually might be better to try and stay quiet.
Yeah, so the verdict on that is it's definitely worth looking into.
Yeah, the verdict is, let's see.
Yeah, the verdict is we'll see. It does look like it's gonna do it does look like it's really good. It's just gonna, for you, it's gonna have to show a little bit more replay value than just the adventure mode and the mini games. But
right, because I'm all about working out. I just I just don't want to buy an $80 game if it's gonna be something I want to play and then stop.
Yeah, plus with you working out on a regular basis as it is, it's going to have to do something a little bit extra to be worth your money, pretty much. at least for you. But yeah, that's definitely something to look into. Like I said, I'll have the video of that presentation in the show notes and in the YouTube description. But I think we can move on from that. Okay, so the next topic we have, DriveTime raises $11 million for games drivers can play on the road. This is by Brendan Sinclair over at gamesindustry.biz. It says, DriveTime today announced that, and today meaning September 9th, DriveTime today announced that it has landed $11 million in Series A financing to produce interactive voice games for drivers, and marked the moment with the debut of a licensed Jeopardy channel and its eponymous mobile app. This round of investment was led by Makers Fund, with additional participation from the Amazon Alexa Fund and the Google Assistant Investments Program. A number of firms who had invested in the company's $4 million seed funding round last year also kicked in again, including Fuel Capital, Web Investment Network, and Access Ventures. DriveTime was founded by Nico I'm going to butcher that name, Nico Vori, Justin Cooper, and Corey Johnson, three veteran developers who worked together at Zynga and then at casino game developer Rocket Games. The trio founded DriveTime last year and launched the DriveTime app on iOS in November. It has since arrived on Android as well. Makers Fund founding partner Jay Chi said, quote, social and interactive formats are the next frontier in audio entertainment. Nico, Justin Cooper, and Corey Johnson, with a decade-long history of working together and a proven track record in building new platforms, is the best team to bring this idea to life. The DriveTime app lets users play a daily trivia episode for free each weekday and charges a $10 monthly subscription for those who want to access the back catalog of shows or listen to premium channels or interactive audiobooks. So, as someone who is going to be living 6 hours away for the next 13 months, this sounds really cool.
For like when you're coming to visit or something?
Yeah, like when I'm driving home for a holiday or for an extended weekend, or even if I feel like driving. Well, plus I also have cousins up north of where I'll be, about an hour east of Chicago, which is about a 3-hour drive to their house. But the idea that I could play Jeopardy while I'm driving sounds pretty cool, potentially dangerous. But if you don't have to touch your phone while you do it, and you can just keep looking at the road, it's not going to be much different than playing a game with family members in the car. Like,
right, yeah.
Because you're not taking your eyes off the road.
Right, it's supposed to be hands-free and go through either the speaker on your phone or if you have Bluetooth. Yeah.
So it's not going to be much different than, talking to people in the car, or listening to a podcast, or listening to music. The only difference is you're going to be talking back to it, assuming it can hear you, because sometimes the phone doesn't always pick up your voice.
Yeah, right. If you have a decent phone, it'll be fine.
Yeah, or set it in a place where you can easily talk to it. But make sure that you set it up that way and test it before you start driving.
Right.
Get the phone situated.
It is interesting. I did download it just to give it a look. Like there's quite a bit of different things you can do. There's like the Jeopardy, there's a DriveTime trivia, there's Tune Time, which I'm assuming is you guessing songs. There's Would You Rather, there's Blackjack, which is interesting that you can play Blackjack hands-free. U.S. capitals and world capitals, which I would frickin' fail.
I'm terrible at that too.
But they're there. And then, you get one free thing a day, which looks like it lasts like 25 minutes. So that's kind of a bummer. Like it's better for small commutes. And then if you want something that's longer, like if you're on a 6-hour road trip, then you would have to pay per month.
$10 a month. Yeah.
Which is kind of a lot.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a regular like hour-long commute you work with, or that you go, like if you work in the city and you live right outside the city, depending on whatever city you live in, if you have like an hour-long commute, that can make the commute a lot less boring, because you can be playing Jeopardy or whatever the other ones were, trivia and whatnot, while driving, which is definitely a lot safer than most other things. Plus, if you're playing that game, it'll keep you occupied without feeling like you need to look at your phone or look something up or change the radio or whatever. Anything that could be a potential distraction gets eliminated by you just focusing on playing a hands-free game while focusing on the road. So It's like, I feel like it could keep people from touching their phones in the long run too.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, just give them something to do so they don't feel like they need to constantly text or check social media.
Yeah.
I mean, the trivia does look interesting. Like, I'm looking at previous episodes. Like, there was one. This is like one of them. September 6th was In the News, Seinfeld, and TV Villains. September 4th was Famous Sidekicks, Snakes. Is Samuel Jackson in that? So, I mean, it looks like it'd be fun. Yeah, I mean, if you drive enough where the $10 a month is worth it, then I'd say go for it for sure. I use an app that costs $15 a month for working out, but I use it multiple times a week, so it makes sense. But yeah, I might actually have to give this one a try.
Yeah, I kind of want to give it a try too. Actually, you know what? We're going out to Champaign this weekend.
You're living in a town called Champaign?
Yeah. It's not spelled like the alcohol, though.
Oh, damn. I was like, mimosas every day.
That's the thing. Like, that's their sales pitch for come live in Champaign. You get free mimosas every day.
Is that really their thing?
No, that would be so cool.
I was like, oh my
god. That would be wild. But no, like, so we're going out to Champaign to kind of check the city out, go see where Volition is, check out places around that area. Excuse me. You can't go in because you need a company ID in order to use the elevator to get up to the office. So they're pretty airtight in terms of keeping things under wraps. But
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, we're going out there to visit the city and check things out and just kind of look around, get a feel for the city before I actually move out there. So we're going to have that 6-hour drive. So I could probably give the game a test run, but have everybody in the car to play it.
Yeah. It would have been nice to, I guess, try out when I had to go to freaking Grand Valley for my sister's graduation. That was a long drive.
Oh yeah. Anytime I go out to visit them, it's like a 3-hour drive for me.
Yeah, it was something like that.
But yeah, so this sounds really cool. I would say that anyone listening should give it a check, kind of check it out. You don't have to pay for anything when you first download it. Like it said, it has like a free thing every day, or like a certain thing for free every day. And then if you want more, then you can pay $10 a month, which isn't really bad.
Yeah.
But it is a little bit more expensive. But if you do try
it, or if you have tried it, let us know what you think, because I'm curious.
And yeah, $10 a month isn't bad, but it is a little bit more expensive than this next thing we're going to talk about.
Yes.
So the Apple Arcade launches September 19th. That's actually 2 days from when we're recording this. But this is Apple Arcade launches September 19th by Rebecca Valentine over at gamesindustry.biz. This is from the 10th. So it says, at today's, which would have been last Tuesday, at today's Apple special event, Apple showed off more details for its upcoming premium mobile game subscription service, Apple Arcade, including a release date of September 19th. The service will cost $4.99 a month, with a 1-month free trial available at launch. Over 100 premium games will be available upon release from studios such as Annapurna Interactive, Bossa Studios, Cartoon Network, Capcom, Finji, Giant Squid, Cly Entertainment, Konami, Lego, Mistwalker Corporation, Sega, Snowman, Us2 Games, and others. So right off the bat, you've got some big names that are going to be in there. Article continues. 3 titles were shown at the event that will be available at launch on Apple Arcade, which is Frogger in Toy Town from Konami, Shinsekai Into the Depths from Capcom, and Sayonara Wild Hearts from Annapurna Interactive. None of the games on Apple Arcade will include ads or in-app purchases, and can be 6 family. Whoops, excuse me, I skipped a line. None of the games on Apple Arcade will include ads or in-app purchases and can be played across iPhone, iPad, Mac, and Apple TV. The subscription includes access for up to 6 family members and will be available at launch in over 150 countries. Apple Arcade was announced back in March as an answer to the struggles of premium mobile developers in a marketplace where free-to-play games with microtransactions dominate. Currently, Apple's mobile rival Google appears to be developing its own answer to a premium mobile game subscription service, though no official details on that have yet been revealed. So, like I said, $4.99 a month is only half the price of that DriveTime thing, but focusing on this sounds way better than I had originally anticipated, because I was thinking like, okay, so you're basically putting a bunch of your best games behind a paywall, and then the rest of the games are going to be the crappy free-to-play games, or the games that pretty much just copy each other. But no, these are like premium, like
actual games.
Yeah, big name developers. No ads, no in-app purchases. You pay the $5.99 a month, and all of these premium games are going to be available.
I mean, once you're paying a subscription, though, I would hope that there's no ads.
Right. Your subscription pays for the ad. Pays for the ad spots, pretty much. So no ads, because you're paying that money yourself.
It is interesting, and it's cool that it has access up to the 6 family members.
Yeah.
So, I mean, both my husband and I could play it and pay the $4.99. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Plus, you could let a couple friends in on it too if you wanted to. Actually,
right, which we probably would, honestly.
I'm not sure how that works. I don't know if you can pick specific people, or if it only works through.
Oh, if it's like a family plan.
Yeah, if it's part of the family plan. I don't know exactly.
I don't know. Well, technically everybody would have to have Apple. We have a friend who doesn't have an iPhone. He's a heathen. Okay. It's fine. But yeah.
I wonder if I can find more info on the.
I think the only thing that's stopping me from doing this, or is possibly stopping me from doing this, is that it's another subscription.
Yeah, that does start to add up quite a bit.
Like, there are so many now, especially with like Disney Plus coming out, which I'm pretty sure we're gonna get.
Oh, I'm definitely getting that.
Like, it's just getting to the point where there's Netflix, there's Hulu, there's Disney Plus, there's Apple Arcade, there's this, there's that. It's like suddenly you have like $300 in subscriptions, and it's like, holy crap.
Yeah, because I have PlayStation Plus, which is $60 a year. I have
Xbox Gold, which we have.
Yeah. So I have PlayStation Plus. I have the Nintendo Online service, which I'm only paying $7 because I'm part of my cousin's family deal, or the group bundle, or whatever. Mm-hmm. But still, that's another $7, so that's $67 just with those two. Plus, I have Netflix, which is, I think we have the extended one, which is like
$9, I think.
They've increased the price. I think it's 15 now.
It is 15, yeah.
Yeah, so that's that's starting to get toward that's starting to get close to $100 a month right there. Mm-hmm. I just lost the math in my head there.
Math is hard.
But I'm probably going to end up with Apple Arcade as well. Plus, I have. Well, Steam doesn't really have a premium thing. Plus, I'm a GameStop Power Up Rewards member, which is another $15 a year, I think. It's not Amazon that one's Prime. Not super. I got rid of my Prime, but yeah, Amazon Prime's another one. I'm paying for the subscription for SoundCloud, which is $16 a month. That way I can store the podcast episodes on there to have an unlimited feed. Actually, that's not too bad. You're paying $16 a month for unlimited upload space, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah, plus analytics and stuff that I have access to. But anyway, with more and more it's like there's more and more subscriptions constantly coming out, and it's like, wow, this is starting to get a lot. Plus Ubisoft has their subscription service, EA has their subscription service, and those are, you don't really need those to play their games. You can just buy their games if you don't really want to do that. But it's like with more and more subscriptions, it's like that's becoming the overall marketplace for
sure.
Anything electronic is subscription after subscription, and it's like, where does it end?
It doesn't. It's just gonna keep going till we're all broke.
Yeah. Or that replaces our cable bills. Like if everyone stops getting cable, then all of that money goes toward all these extra subscriptions instead.
That's what I almost said parents. That's what my mom did. That's what my mom did. They broke off cable, and now they only have Hulu and HBO and Netflix.
Yeah, see, so that pretty much covers, because if you don't really watch that much TV, there's no point in paying for it, right?
Right. Well, and that's the thing too, is like I think the Hulu they have, like they pay, it's a little bit more, but it basically is their new cable. Like it shows them live shows. Not for all of them, but they can watch some TV shows live, and basically, I mean, that's cable.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure it's still cheaper than whatever service I think they were using, maybe Xfinity, but I'm sure it's cheaper than that.
Yeah, Xfinity is Comcast, and for a while they were pretty much they're basically a monopoly when it comes to cable.
They're a monopoly when it comes to a lot of things. We're actually going to probably switch over to their mobile.
Really? Like, wait, they have a mobile service?
Mm-hmm. We're going to leave Sprint and go to them because they're cheaper. But they have Verizon coverage.
Oh, I did not know that.
We didn't either until we had to upgrade our internet.
Because the internet wasn't really good?
No, our internet was fine. We just wanted faster because we could get a gig speed for cheaper. So why not?
That's what we're going to do at the apartment. We have internet we have Wi-Fi that's pretty much covered. We just have to buy a router ourselves. But otherwise Wi-Fi's covered. But we might end up spending the extra money just to get gigabit service.
It's so worth it.
Yeah, with 3 of us being gamers and possibly streamers, we're going to need that extra internet.
It's so worth it. I mean, like I said, like I can be uploading like 1,000 photos while Z streams and plays his Xbox online, and like we can do it all at once, and there's like no buffer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only 2 people, but at one point we did have 4 people here without gig speed, and then we did pretty decently. So gig speed's legit.
Yeah, I would definitely like that because I kind of want to try streaming, but anyway, so Apple Arcade launches September 19th. If you're listening to this, it's most likely out by now. Depending on when I can get this edited and uploaded. But it comes out Thursday of this week. So that's wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
Thursday, September 19th.
Yeah, so I'm probably going to end up getting it. Like I said, it's only $4.99 a month, plus you have a bunch of different premium games. I would like to play more mobile games. I haven't really been playing a whole lot of mobile games. I want to kind of get back into that. Because there's some really, really interesting games on there. So that'd be really cool to check out. Okay, moving on. So this is TIGA. Government should urgently carry out research around loot boxes and gambling. This is by Hayden Taylor over at GamesIndustry.biz again. It says Industry Trade Association TIGA, or TIGA is what it is, has supported recommendations from the Immersive and Addictive Technologies Report published today, which would have been September 12th. After nearly 9 months of evidence gathering, the Digital Culture, Media and Sport Committee, or DCMS Committee, has made a number of suggestions to the UK government around video games and social media. Among the recommendations were that loot boxes should be regulated under gambling, that their sale to children be banned, and that an industry levy should be introduced to help pay for research into the, quote, long-term effects of gaming. In a statement, TIGA CEO Dr. Richard Wilson agreed that research should be carried out into both gaming disorders and the connection between loot boxes and gambling. TIGA's stance aligns with the committee's assessment that research into gaming disorder, quote, is scarce, and that more studies are required to adequately understand the problem. Dr. Wilson said, quote, TIGA agrees that the government should urgently carry out research to examine the connection between loot boxes and gambling. This research would recognize that loot boxes take many different forms. Speaking with GamesIndustry.biz, Dr. Wilson said he, quote, powerfully and strongly believed the research needs to take place. However, he challenged the idea of an industry levy, raising concerns about how it could affect impartiality. Dr. Wilson said he deferred to the wisdom of academics who previously suggested the games industry should not fund research into how its business affects people. Providing evidence to the committee in March, Dr. Henrietta Bowden-Jones, director of National Problem Gambling Clinic, said any research funded by gaming companies would be compromised and needs to be, quote, absolutely free of the gaming industry. So this is kind of more news and kind of more, what's the word I'm looking for here? Ouch. I guess it's a little bit more going into the whole loot boxes and gambling, along with gaming disorder, which if anyone listening to this is friends with me on Facebook knows that I talked quite a bit about the whole gaming disorder becoming like an official thing in the World Health Organization, or in the whatever the book was. I think the book of psychological disorders or something. It ended up as an official diagnosis in whatever specific field journal it was supposed to be in. I forgot the actual journal, but there were tons of psychology experts that were saying that it was that the WHO, the World Health Organization, was kind of jumping the gun on it, that more research needs to be done on it before making it an official thing. But now it's an official thing. But that's not really the focus of this, but I'm sure I'll talk about that more on a later date. But so this is basically just kind of saying that, and this is more specific to the UK, but I wanted to put this in here because it sounds like more research is going to go into that. That's kind of what this funding is supposed to be about. Or not really funding, but this proposal that the game industry, at least out in the UK, would pay the levy for the research. But obviously you can't really do that because it would be impartial. It would be a I'm blanking on it. It would be a I can't think of it now. Whatever. It would be in the researcher's best interest that the industry isn't like that.
Biased?
Yeah, because the industry would be biased toward it. So if they funded it, then it would be a conflict. That's what it was, a conflict of interest.
There we go. We got there.
Hey, okay. It would be a conflict of interest because when the industry itself funds research, you can't really whether it's accurate or not. You can't really use it because if the industry researches it itself, you can't really, because it's a conflict of interest. You can't really use it. You end up in a situation like, let's not go there. I was going to say you end up in a situation with the whole Andrew Wakefield thing with the anti-vaccine movement. He was making money off of it.
Yeah.
And ended up stripped of his medical license because of it. But his papers still used as a reference.
Right.
You guys know that was pulled like 20 years ago, right? Anyway,
anti-vaxxers don't care. But the only thing about it though, when it comes to conflicts of interest, is that any sort of topic like this, I mean, a lot of politics kind of get involved. And I'm not saying politics like presidential or anything like that. I'm just saying politics in general.
Politics between scientists and whatnot.
Right. Look at smoking or now the vaping stuff. I mean, there's always going to be the different sides that go to it and everything. So, I mean, with video games, or like I said, social media, which there is for sure a thing about people being addicted to social media.
Yeah. Well, there's actual psychology behind that too.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure I would be diagnosed as addicted to social media, considering and I know I'm not the only one, but when you're scrolling through Facebook and then you're like, oh, there's nothing on here. So you exit out of Facebook and then you immediately go right back into Facebook.
Yep. I do that all the time.
Yep.
That's why I set a Facebook timer. So it tells me you've passed your hour limit for the day. You should probably get off.
That's smart. But yeah, so I mean, there's going to be, opposing sides are always going to try and hash it out, but
yeah,
I hope they can get some more research into this because I'm sure it's absolutely something that needs to be looked at.
Yeah, and that's kind of the reason why I wanted to bring this up, is because no matter how you feel about video games, the whole gaming disorder thing, the equivalency to gambling, when you look at it as objectively as you can, there are definitely mechanics that could easily be considered gambling, and if you end up with the same sort of physiological reactions to that game mechanic as you do gambling, then on an objective scientific or on an objective physiological level, it is the same thing.
Right.
Your heart rate gets increased. You start to feel this euphoric feeling when you have a near win. Your palms start sweating, and all of this physiological stuff starts to happen as you get excited about it. Yeah. Mom spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
But it definitely does need to be researched more. I still think that the World Health Organization jumped the gun on the gaming disorder thing because not enough research has gone into that. There's definitely an issue of compulsive gaming where people there's some people who will literally just soil themselves because they don't want to get up from the game, and it's like that's definitely a serious issue, and that should be researched. But we can't just throw a name on it and call it a diagnosis, because it's like, okay, well, what if there's something else going on in their life where they are so desperate to stay on that game in fear of something else that they're trying to avoid? It's like, okay, well, just labeling that as gaming disorder is going to be a huge misdiagnosis, and you could be completely missing the actual problem.
Right. I mean, there's so many different variables. It might not even just be gambling. It might just be that somebody has an addictive personality.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people who are addicted to coffee, sex, gambling. There's so many things.
There's addictions to a lot of different things.
Science is hard. That's why we're not all scientists.
Well, if science was easy, everybody would be a scientist. But yeah, I mean, I trust most doctors' judgment on whether a diagnosis of gaming disorder is appropriate for a specific patient. I'm hoping they'd be able to differentiate that, being, a medical professional or psychology professional, whatever, for like 10 years or something is usually what, like, the average amount of schooling they have to do before they're considered an expert in their field.
10,000 hours.
Yeah, there's that 10,000 hour rule too.
Yeah. That's the rule I was always told.
Yeah. There was a book that I read that looked into
which I
that
surpassed,
about that
by
too.
the way.
There's a book that I was reading that mentioned the 10,000 hour thing. And there's some truth behind it, but there's more to it than that. But I'm not going to quote anything.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not going to quote anything on it specifically because I don't remember off the top of my head. But either way, I think that, well, according to this article, obviously more research should go into this, but there's a link here that says providing evidence to the committee in March, and looking into that. If I can actually find the, so it's a gamesindustry.biz article from back in March. I'm trying to find if I can find the actual numbers for it. This is a much bigger article than the one we're reading right now, but the first session was specifically about gaming disorder. Oh no, that's just talking about gaming disorder in general. I should have dug deeper down this rabbit hole. I was kind of rushing to put these topics together, but at the end of the day, more research needs to be done.
Yeah.
And just like and TIGA, so TIGA, the organization is the trade association. It's the trade association representing the UK games industry. In the article, so TIGA obviously agrees that the government should urgently carry out research around loot boxes and gambling, as the title of the article specifically says. And the main thing is just, I have to agree, more research needs to be done. You can't go wrong with more research if you can find the funding. When the research has been done over years and years, then there's really no sense going over the same research over and over again. But we're not at that point with loot boxes and gaming and the gaming disorder. More research needs to be done on that, and that's pretty much the verdict of this, or not the verdict, but that's kind of the main idea of this article, is that the funding for it should not be from the industry. It needs to be from an independent resource, or the money could be taken from the industry and decided on somebody used on somebody outside the industry to perform the research. But if the industry has their hands in the research itself, then it becomes, again, a conflict of interest, and we can't use that. But yeah, that's kind of the main gist of that article. Okay, moving on. BetaDwarf raises $6.6 million to develop new loneliness-busting genre. So this is by Hayden Taylor over at the gamesindustry.biz. This is from the 13th, which was last Friday. It says, Minion Masters developer BetaDwarf has closed a Series A funding round worth $6.6 million. The funding was led by Makers Fund, with additional financing from seed investor London Venture Partners and new investors One Up Ventures and Everblue Management. Based in Copenhagen, the studio sought new financing to, quote, invest aggressively into a new genre focused on friendship. Citing a rise in loneliness, as evidenced by reports from the UK, US, and China, which have identified more than 50% of adults are suffering from loneliness, BetaDwarf CEO Stefan Kabelgaard highlighted the problem.
Kabelgaard? I think.
Kabelgaard?
I think so. I mean, it's German, right?
Okay, yeah, it might be Kabelgaard. Stefan Kabelgaard. So BetaDwarf CEO Stefan Kabelgaard highlighted the problem. He said, quote, feeling lonely is more dangerous than one might think and is associated with a 26% increased likelihood of mortality. A solution can come from forming friends that can relate to your life and share an activity with you. We believe that for the coming generation of adults, games will be a perfect solution, and that it already is for the younger generations. Communicating through a headset has shown to be very effective socializing and often leads to in-person meetings as well. However, it requires a specific approach to game design. It's beautiful when positive society impact and business has a chance to meet. And we believe this is true in this case. If we can create and maintain friendships through an activity and in some cases reduce or remove loneliness from our players, then we are more than confident that we will set many new industry KPI benchmarks and that our team will be empowered and motivated by the positive impact on people's lives. BetaDwarf's stated mission is to create a new genre that utilizes the social mechanics of MOBAs, which is multiplayer online battle arenas, and MMOs, massively multiplayer online games, to, quote, build intimate friendships between players via data-driven bonding. Titled Project Haven, it's BetaDwarf's largest project to date, and the company is actively looking for new staff. So this one really caught my eye because they are literally going into this trying to make a new genre of games sort of surrounding the idea of combating loneliness, which is kind of my jam because I get super passionate about games for impact, which is games like Life is Strange or Monument Valley, and games that make an emotional impact on their players. And for a studio to kind of go into that, trying to make like a totally new genre on that same sort of idea, but for more of sort of an active part of it. So like the game being like the main goal being to combat loneliness rather than teach people about it, I think is kind of taking another step forward within the whole games for impact idea. But you obviously like games like Life is Strange and games that sort of make an emotional impact. So I don't know. What do you think about this?
I think it's genius. I know that in the time that we are in right now, while we have access to everybody's lives and we are in constant communication via texting, Snapchat, DMs, whatever, it's not actually the same as what it used to be, which is why so many of us, while we have, 2,000 friends on Facebook, can still feel incredibly lonely because we don't feel like we actually have friends in real life. I don't have 2,000 friends. I'm just using that as a example. But I think it's important. I mean, I'm sure I've told you or even mentioned it on the podcast before, like our friend Clock Tower, that's obviously not his real name. We met him via Xbox. Like Z was playing Destiny 1, I believe, and they got matchmade, and so they were talking over the headset, and I was like, oh, who's this person? You guys have, because they matchmade, and then they kind of like they jived well, so like they were able to like continue playing other missions. I'm like, who's this person you're playing with? What's he like? But because I'm a nosy person. And so eventually it got down to, we learned that he lived in the same state. We learned that he lived relatively close to us. And I was like, and he was close in age. So we're like, yeah, let's just have him come to our Christmas party that's coming up. And he came and he brought like 3 pounds of bacon, and it created like this actual friendship. And he later stood in our wedding. So, I mean, I think it's cool that they're trying to do, like, actually have friendships being made via gaming, because I have 2 friends that were, I mean, we both have the 2 friends that the bonds grew stronger because of video games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's definitely a lot of sort of intimate personal stories when it comes to friends meeting in games. I know my brother, when we used to play World of Warcraft back in the day, my brother was in a guild with, I think he was in a guild with these people, but there was a couple that he would play with regularly, or like they were a married couple that he'd end up, playing with online when we were in school. But they ended up, I think they met in World of Warcraft, and like they were married at the time, and like they ended up getting married, and playing World of Warcraft was just sort of their after work activity that they did together, like every day. So it's like there's something in gaming that, especially people outside of the whole gaming community, they associate gaming with isolation, and it's like that's not true at all. Maybe you see it as isolated because you can't seem to understand that gaming is a lot more than just an activity that's a waste of time. And it's not, because people are literally making friends that they could become full-time friends with in real life, like real friends. Like you said, your husband met someone on Destiny, and that person ended up, you said, stood in your wedding.
Yeah, he was one of our groomsmen, and then we're now going to his wedding. We're not in it, but we'll be attending his wedding in November.
Yeah, so it's like, there's a personal story right there that's like, that proves gaming is a lot more. And this specific article, or not necessarily the article, but BetaDwarf is going to harness that very thing and try and make a genre focus on it, which I think is really wild. And I'm very, very interested to see where this goes. I hope they pull it off, because this is $6.6 million to focus on building an entire new genre is very bold and very dangerous. Because if your goal is to create a new genre, that could prove to be a dangerous approach, because a lot of times a new genre is born just out of experimenting with genres that already exist.
Right.
But they do mention that they're focusing on the social mechanics of MOBAs and MMOs. So maybe they're starting from there and figuring out a way to focus the game on that specific part. So it does sound like they've thought about that. Obviously that they've thought about this. And I think that's very interesting, because MOBAs are very team-centered, are very team-focused. MMOs are very team-focused, especially when you're doing raids. You have to trust one another in order to do their jobs. Like DPS or your healer needs to focus on your DPS, or not the DPS needs to focus on the tank. Tank needs to make sure that they're focusing on keeping the attention of all the enemies. And then the DPS just makes sure that they try and do as much damage as they can without ending up taking away the attention from the tank, because then if one person doesn't do their job right, the whole raid could crumble. So
which
it's like,
I have seen many times.
I've accidentally done that before. I accidentally used a taunt. I accidentally used a taunt when I was a DPS person and got everybody killed.
Whoops.
I got booted from the group. They were not happy. But it's like, it just goes to show that, like, it's very team oriented and it's very communication oriented. And if one person doesn't do their job right, everything can fall apart.
Right.
So it's like taking that that sort of idea, those mechanics, and focusing on those as the main mechanic for a new genre could prove to be very, very helpful with combating loneliness. And they even I lost what I was going to say, but I think this sounds really interesting. I am looking forward to seeing what this becomes. I'm definitely going to be following Project Haven more later on down the road, and if there's any news on that coming out, we are definitely going to talk more about it here.
Yeah,
I don't really have anything else to say on that.
No, I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see what they come up with, because, I mean, like you said, it's hard to come up with a new game style.
Yeah.
Or game, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, a new genre, especially when that's the primary focus.
Right. And like,
usually a new genre is born out of just, oh, this is kind of interesting. What if we did this? And then all of a sudden, oh crap, we just invented a new genre.
Right. And with video games being around for as long as I have, like it's going to be hard to come up with a new idea. It's going to be very hard. There's so much right now.
Yeah. I mean, new genres have already come out in the last couple of years. You know, the whole Battle Royale was born of...
Which took over. So many games are doing that now.
Yeah, it exploded as quickly as the MOBA did. Which I think is... It's cool, but...
Because I think I saw even Civilization 6 is implementing Battle Royale now. I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah, there is that rumor. I completely forgot about that. I don't know if that's a rumor or if that's something they're actually planning.
I don't know. I just randomly saw it on Facebook not too long ago.
Yeah. Which is kind of interesting. I don't know how they'd get that to work.
I don't know. I haven't played Civ since I think Civ 3 or 4, so.
I've never played a Civ game, but I've always wanted to try it because I do want to kind of test the waters of strategy games. I don't play a whole lot of strategy games, so it'd be interesting to try it out.
It was interesting. It's not my type of game, I learned, but it is interesting.
Yeah. I like trying a bunch of different genres. Being a designer, I like seeing, okay, what makes this audience tick? What about this game makes this audience go crazy for this type of game? And then I end up totally getting it and getting super into that genre. So I jump around genres all the time, but yeah. Same. Okay. So here's a story that we've been following since pretty much the beginning of the podcast. GameStop to close 180 to 200 underperforming stores globally this year. This is from last Tuesday. I think this probably came out as we were recording last week's episode, but it says during today's, which is again last Tuesday, during today's GameStop Q2 earnings call, the company announced it would be closing between 180 and 200 underperforming stores globally between now and the end of the year. During the call, GameStop CFO James Bell praised the company's over 5,700 stores worldwide, stating that 95% of them were profitable. Nonetheless, the company is beginning to roll out an ongoing plan that will also result in even more store closures into the next 2 years. He said, quote, "While that is an impressive statistic, we have a clear opportunity to improve our overall profitability by de-densifying our chain. That work is well underway. We are on track to close between 180 and 200 underperforming stores globally by the end of this fiscal year. And while these closures were more opportunistic, we are applying a more definitive analytic approach, including profit levels and sales transferability, that we expect will yield a much larger tranche of closures over the coming 12 to 24 months. Bell also said that the company would be looking at alternatives for unprofitable business segments, especially internationally, though he did not specify which segments those were. This all comes as a part of GameStop's Reboot plan, which was a major focus of its Q2 earnings report, in which it posted a net loss of $415 million and an adjusted net loss of $32 million. As the company struggles to regain its momentum after a challenging year of financial losses, failed company sales, and consolidation. As a part of the same plan, 50 employees lost their jobs in early August, and another 120 were laid off later in the month, including 7 members of the Game Informer staff, which I've still been following that story. They had a few of the staff, or a couple of them, on Kind of Funny Games Daily last week, and that was kind of cool to see them working together again. But anyway, staying focused on the topic. The company also recently moved ThinkGeek in with GameStop proper and announced several new plans for stores, including retro-focused and esports-driven locations. Despite all these changes, GameStop will likely not see profit increases for some time to come, with Bell blaming this on the timing of the end of the current console generation. He said, quote, "We expect our year-over-year sales to be down over the next 3 to 4 quarters, reflecting the end of the console cycle. Compounding this negative impact on sales is the fact that console makers have confirmed the launch earlier than they have in the past. We anticipate that this will lead to much lighter title slate through the rest of 2019 and early 2020, given the end of the cycle timing for current consoles. As a result, at this time, we expect a percentage decline of comparable same-store sales for 2019 to be in the low teens, which includes a difficult comparable sales challenge from last year, as we're up against blockbuster titles like Red Dead Redemption 2, 2018's number 1 volume title, without a comparable launch in 2019. So GameStop is continuing to decline. They're closing more and more stores, but it sounds like this is still part of just the cleanup to get, essentially, they're treating unprofitable sections of their business as a virus that's continuing to spread, and they're cutting off the infected portions of their business until they have the means to actually start getting more profit. In other words, having a healthier business model. But I mean, if bankruptcy is a disease that they're fighting, it's a disease that's spreading fast, and they're having to cut more and more stores that are underperforming in order to stay alive. Yeah.
I mean, but there's also probably a lot of cities that have multiple GameStops and don't necessarily need it.
Yeah. I mean, Port Huron's the city that I currently live in. Port Huron alone has, I think 3. I know they had 3. There was one in the mall, which the mall is quickly dying too.
Wow, yeah, that's a whole other story.
Yeah. But there used to be a GameStop in that mall, but that one closed a while ago. But that mall has ridiculously high
leasing, yeah.
Yeah, it has a list.
They're expensive to be in.
Yeah, the mall underperforms and charge too much rent. So as soon as a store gets in there, they realize this is not profitable and just immediately leave.
Yeah, so that's not GameStop's fault. That's just the mall.
Right. But it does, GameStop's stock and their profits aren't exactly helping that. But either way, we still have 2 GameStops as far as I know in town.
Yeah, you have one in like the north end over by Walmart, right? And then
one right down the road from there.
Huh?
There's one right down the road from there too. But yeah, there's one right in front of Walmart pretty much.
That's what I meant. Where's the other one?
Farther down 24th Street, in the same area as Jimmy John's and Little Caesars. Like, that where that little mini mall area, where one of the entrances is literally the KFC on Craft.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, in that strip mall area.
Okay. By the McDonald's, right?
Yeah, right next door to the McDonald's. People listening to this probably have no context to that.
Yeah, sorry.
If you live in Port Huron, you know exactly what we're talking about. If you don't, you're probably clueless. But anyway, it's like they're not even a mile apart from each other.
Yeah, which doesn't make sense. Road. Like at least ours, like we have 2. Mm-hmm. Technically 3 if you want to bring in Auburn Hills, but I live in Rochester, so Rochester has 2. There's one on like the very north side over by like between Walmart and Meijer, and it's kind of like right off of M59. And then there's another one that's over on the south end in the same plaza as like a Target and Best Buy. So I don't think that one does well. So I think if they were to close one of those, I would think it would be the one by Target and Best Buy.
Yeah, because if you go into either one of those stores, you can still get a game.
Right.
The only way that GameStop would survive is that if there's a lot of people who are part of the gaming community that prefer GameStop over Target or Best Buy.
Right.
Which would be people like me. When I go in, I want to be able to talk to somebody about games instead of, oh yeah, this game's selling pretty well, I think.
Yeah, instead of just some random blue shirted person or red, depending what store you go in.
Yeah, but it's like when you go into a Best Buy, if you're a big gamer, odds are you're going to know more about games than the person selling you them, which is kind of depressing.
Most likely, although you never know. The Best Buy that I went to, I went in there for camera stuff at one point, and the person who helped me also was a photographer, so they were super helpful. So you never know. I mean, you could be lucky and get someone who knows what they're talking about, but odds are low.
Yeah. Well, there was a guy that works at our Best Buy in Port Huron that well, I guess it's technically in Fort Gratiot, but right outside Port Huron, pretty much. But there was a guy there who was a big PC gamer, and I was looking at mouses and keyboards because I have a gaming laptop, but I'd really like an external keyboard focused on gaming, and I have an external mouse that's focused on gaming. You know, it has a nice thumb pad and like a place for my thumb to relax and some extra inputs. But I wanted one that felt really good to hold, and I like the sound of clicking. So it's like I don't like silent ones because I
like the mecha ones.
Yeah, I get a satisfaction. Like there's something satisfying about the mechanical clicking of the mouse and keyboard. But I mean, if you're recording, then that gets annoying because it ends up in the microphone. But I mean, if you have a Yeti, you can set it so that it only. Anyway, but he knew what he was talking about. Like, he was making a bunch of suggestions, and he was like, "Oh, well, if you like the mechanical sound, you got to go with this one." And I started messing around with it, and it's like, "Yes, that's the sound I like." And then he was just like, "Yeah," and he was just kind of like, "Personally, I like silent stuff, but if you get some satisfaction out of the clicking sound out of the mouse and keyboard, you got to go with these." And I don't remember the exact model, but like, he knew what he was talking about. And that's what you get every time you go into GameStop, is that people there know what they're talking about in terms of like games and stuff. So it's like, yeah, I forgot where I was going with that.
I think my whole point was just saying, like, I can see why they would close down under-profitable stores if cities have multiples.
Right. And if it's a bigger city and you have a GameStop on either end, then like you're sort of getting one half of the city in one and the other half of the city in the other. But when they're right down the road from each other, it's like, what's the point? You're just going to go to the one where you have friends at. Right. And one of the stores in Port Huron has an elite status, or whatever it's called, which I guess is supposed to point out the most. Oh, prestige. It's like a prestige level store, which means that it's like one of the more profitable branches. And I have a couple friends there that work there. So I'm guessing this whole prestige thing, as far as stores go, if a store reaches prestige status, I think that might be like it's achieving a maximum profitability, and those are the stores that they're going to focus on keeping. And then the underperforming ones are going to be on the opposite of that spectrum. So this 180 to 200 underperforming stores are probably on that back end.
Yeah.
but it's all part of the whole reboot process, which is actually the main topic that we're getting to in just a second. But did you have anything else to say on this first article on GameStop?
No, just it was actually just kind of a transition comment into the next thing about if they can turn them into a place to hang out.
Right. And if anyone's been following this actually happened yesterday. I was at work yesterday putting together the topics list, and I opened my phone after I was done teaching a student, and I just see GameStop store redesign has leaked, and it was a breaking news story. And I was like, no way. You're talking about the story that we've been following since like the beginning of the podcast. That store reboot got leaked. I don't know. I got really excited. But anyway, let's get into this. So I actually watched the video, and I kind of got excited about what they were doing. But I'll have the actual video in the description if they haven't pulled it down, which I don't think they have, at least not yet.
Not yet, no.
Yeah. If it's still up, I will put the video in the YouTube description and in the show notes. But so
honestly, I think it'd be smart of them to not put it down because it kind of creates some excitement. But that's just my opinion.
It could have been a disguised leak. Ubisoft does that all the time with Assassin's Creed. They'll leak a gameplay photo, and that's like part of their plan. I think GameStop's kind of doing that here. But so the article is from IGN. This is from Matt Kim over at IGN. It's GameStop store redesign leaked. It says IGN can confirm the accuracy of a recent Facebook video, which appears to show what one of the redesigned GameStop stores could look like under the company's GameStop reboot plan. A GameStop store in Pryor, Oklahoma, posted a video tour of what looks like a new layout for the store. A source familiar with GameStop's operation, who's requested anonymity, has confirmed that the store matches the blueprint layout of the redesigns shown at GameStop's annual conference. IGN sources say there's a test store in Oklahoma, the same state from which this video is from. A second source familiar with GameStop's future reboot plan said that not all stores will look like the one in the video, with some stores redesigned to focus more on esports, retro games, which is what the store in the video is focused on, or a more traditional design similar to existing stores. Other features, like the wall-mounted tablet, are more universal features that corporate will implement across all stores. The new store appears to ditch the glossy black and white aesthetic of current GameStop locations. Instead, the store now sports a more muted gray color aesthetic with faux wood paneling. The store is also sleeker and more streamlined, with cleaner rows of games, as well as a small table for video game apparel and figures. There's also a wall-mounted tablet in the store that customers can order from, as well as a sofa and HDTV located in the middle of the store. Furthermore, in the back of the store is a new space filled with CRT TVs and CRT TVs and tables, apparently used for tabletop games. This would align with GameStop's previously stated goals of turning stores into event spaces where they could host live tournaments and live events. The news follows a 14.3% sales decrease year over year and a net loss of over $400 million in quarter two. GameStop CFO Jim Bell also predicted that this trend of loss will continue for the next several quarters until the next generation of consoles is released. That's kind of more reiterating what was in the previous article that we were reading. IGN has reached out to GameStop for a statement, but has not received a response as of press time, or in other words, as of this recording, or at least as of last night when I put this in the topics list. IGN also contacted the Oklahoma store, but we're told they cannot comment on the store redesign. I don't know if they got a quote yet or not. I'm going to open the article and see. So no, they haven't gotten as of this recording, they have not gotten an update on that. But I even got a little excited reading about this again, because I completely glossed over the whole tabletop thing.
Yeah.
So if GameStop can keep themselves afloat to actually see this implementation go across all stores, this is exactly what they need. this will give them an edge over every other physical game store. It's a place for gamers to hang out with store associates, again, that know what they're talking about, compared to, Best Buy or Target, where you don't usually have people that know what they're talking about in terms of games. They're just there to sell products.
Right.
But you even mentioned this while watching the video.
Yeah, you have to hear my live response to it.
But you mentioned something about he said something about buy some snacks.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't see from the video. I'd have to go back and rewatch it. But he mentioned something about buying snacks. I don't know if he was referring to a store right next door.
No, if you watch the video, it's toward the end, like scanning over again. Mm-hmm. But there's like, because you can see oops, there goes my phone. You can see the tablet of what looks like maybe you can do pre-orders, or it's more, it looks like a self-service tablet. So maybe if the cashier, whoever worker is busy. But next to it, there were shelves of snacks. So like pretzels or candy bars, or like, almost kind of like movie theater-esque snacks.
Yeah.
But it had chips and stuff. So like, I mean, it had like snacks that you could buy in store.
So they do actually sell snacks in that store then.
Mm-hmm.
At
least in that one.
So this is exactly what GameStop needs. And if it does well, like if there's a positive response to it, which if my own excitement over that idea is any indication of it, this is exactly what GameStop needs, and I think it will do well. But the idea that each store isn't going to be exactly like that. Some stores are going to be pretty similar to what they are already now. And some stores don't need that extra edge. The store in Port Huron is doing just fine. But
I think the aesthetic difference is nice. Like just the repaint and because when you walk in now and it's like that stark black and red or black and whatever bright color, it's just kind of like, woo, hello. But I feel like when you watch the video, like it's kind of got almost more of a like that farmhouse homey feel to it.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of gives you more of that like feeling of relaxing and staying and playing.
Yeah. And that's kind of the whole idea, at least of that style store. That store specifically is focused on retro games. They've got GameCube set up, Nintendo 64 set up. I'm sure other stuff.
They had a freaking GameCube. Like, I freaked out over that.
GameCube.
I missed my GameCube.
I still have my GameCube somewhere at my dad's house, but the fact that they have old school game systems like the GameCube, the Nintendo 64. I'm sure they'll have an SNES there, or an NES or Sega or whatever.
Right.
Like having retro games there and a place for people to hang out, buy some snacks, and actually hang out in the store, so that it's more than just a store. It's a place for you to actually hang out and chill out with, other local gamers. This could also pose for anyone in a city who doesn't have like a name for themselves, like an independent developer or a board game designer, to maybe talk with the store about setting up playtests.
Mm-hmm. That could be cool.
So it's like developers and designers could even get in on this too. And that's just me thinking about, developers and myself being a designer and a developer, being able to show off projects. I don't have anything that would be that's at like a group playtest kind of thing, kind of level ready. But anyone that does, maybe talk to the store manager and see if that's something that could be a possibility. But even just selling snacks and having a place to game and hang out is exactly what GameStop needs to get an edge over other stores. That's something that you can't get by purchasing stuff online. That's something that you can't get by going to a different store. You can only get
I think it's very smart.
It's very smart.
I mean, because like back in the thing I'm looking at it more as an adult, obviously.
Hmm.
But I mean, when I think of it from like a teenage perspective, or just somebody who has more time on their hands,
Yeah.
like it's very cool because I know back when I was younger, we had arcades and we had candy shops and stuff like that, and you don't really see those anymore. But it was always fun to like go with friends from school to go to the arcade and hit up the candy shops and just kind of relax and have fun and play games. And this is kind of recreating that whole idea, but with video games, and which can be even more fun because those are, for the most part, like multiplayer. So you can play with your friends instead of just like taking turns, or which is fine, but I feel like there's a lot more that can go into it. And like with the tabletops, I mean, the tabletops could be tabletop games, or it could even be like people can bring in their Nintendo Switches and stand them up on the on the tables and have tourneys.
Exactly.
Like there's so many things they could do with it. Or play Magic or Pokemon.
Yeah. Or Yu-Gi-Oh, if that's even still around.
Or Yu-Gi-Oh.
I had a dream that I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh. I had a dual disc and everything, and it worked. Anyway, well, I guess Yu-Gi-Oh might still be around. They just came out with a game on the Switch that I kind of want to get because it's literally playing that card game, and I haven't played that card game in over 10 years, and I do miss it. But anyway, and that's just one store style. That's the one that's focused on. The one in the video is focused on retro games and sort of that hangout thing. There's also going to be esports shops, which I think they mentioned a while back that maybe they'll host events, like maybe they'll air it. And I know we mentioned before that there was possibility of live stream events, but it's like, okay, well, they're going to have to offer something other than just the live stream, because otherwise they can just stay home and watch the esport event from there. But if they have snacks, and if they're selling like team t-shirts at the store, and you have people showing up to hang out and watch the event together, that offers a better experience than just watching it from home. That's something to offer that's worth driving out to the GameStop and spending time there. If they sell snacks and apparel and stuff like that, that's more to offer than just streaming it from your home.
Right. And I'm sure they could offer more things too. Like, I know if you go to like midnight releases, video games, which I haven't seen them do in a little bit, but
one here does it still.
Do they?
Yeah.
But I know they I mean, they would either offer like cute little, like maybe it was a keychain, or like the oh shoot, that fabric thing that holds your keys. I know you know what I'm talking about.
Lanyard.
Lanyard, yeah. Or they would offer like the lanyard that goes with the game, or sometimes they'll even give out like keys that could, unlock something. I mean, they could do a whole bunch of stuff, I think, to get people to come out. Even if it is free food. I mean, who doesn't want free food?
No, I don't think they can afford to offer free food right now.
No, not necessarily. I mean, it would have to be probably donated or like sponsored, obviously. Like if Little Caesars were to sponsor attorney.
Yeah, then they'd provide pizza to a bunch of different GameStop stores, like the esports stores or whatever.
Right.
Or, the store staff decides to pitch in and get a bunch of pizzas for hosting it. But yeah, like, this is definitely exactly what they need. And that's kind of what we were worried about when we talked about the redesign being talked about, weeks ago, about like, okay, well, if they're just streaming those live events, they're going to need to offer something more worthwhile than just the event. Otherwise, people are just going to be like, oh, I can just watch it from home.
Right.
This is exactly what they need. And if they can keep themselves... Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. I was just say, like, just seeing, because I can say that I for sure was a doubter when we first started talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
But just seeing the video tour, the leaked video tour, and seeing, showing that they're going to have the different type of store setup, I think this can go really well, especially for, I mean, adults too, but especially for teenagers and, people with a lot of time.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of teenagers, they grew up in a world where everything was online pretty much. We didn't have that growing up. We always liked having those social things. So it's like that alone is, for us, is almost nostalgic. For them,
True.
this could be like an entirely new experience that they've never had before, where you can just go and hang out at a store and play games and eat food and watch a live streamed, esports event or something that isn't exactly a normal part of their lives, at least collectively, which I think is very, very interesting. And if it sells well with that audience, it could save GameStop. Like, we still have yet to see how the test stores do, and this is one of the test stores.
But I think it's funny that it's in Oklahoma, because why Oklahoma? But
why in the middle of nowhere?
I think it would be interesting if they almost kind of make it another Blockbuster in a way, not for the renting, but like you being able to go in and test out games. Because I know that's what I say all the time, is that I wish I could test out games before buying them.
Right.
Because I work hard for my money, darn it. And but if they're able to, like, if you're able to go in and say, like, Link's Awakening, which is coming out, to go in and try out the new Link's Awakening, and even if they give you like a 30-minute timer or something, like 30 minutes of a video game can tell you a lot.
Yeah. Like, you basically just need to play the onboarding portion of the game, which is usually just like the introduction and then a little bit of a challenge,
right?
Which is usually how demos are set up. It's enough to teach you the mechanics.
Keep you wanting to go.
Yeah. But yeah, demos are basically like, okay, here's the onboarding experience. This is the first portion of the game. This is what's meant to hook you to the game. And if it doesn't hook you, maybe move on to a different game.
Right.
But like the onboarding portion of that game is good for a demo. And if they allow you to play that like in the store, which this is just us kind of brainstorming, like how could they do something with their current business model or change it. I know they do have like the money back guarantee. Like if you bring it back the same week and decide you don't like it, then you get your money back in store credit. I think you get all of your money back in store credit. You can't get all of the money back in cash, because either way they can't, even though you brought the game back a week later because you didn't like it, they still can't resell that as a new game. So they'd be losing money if they gave you your full money back without the guarantee of you buying something else with it. That's just an unrealistic business model to do that. But either way, they do have that. So it's like you can still take it home to try it. But if you're someone who's super busy and you can't guarantee that you'll be able to get an idea of whether you want to play it within a week, then that's not very realistic for you personally to do.
Right.
So it's like, if you had the option to like, okay, I've got a half hour at lunch, or I've got a half hour's worth at my lunch break to try a game. So I'm going to try this game while I still have a little bit of time just to kind of try it out. And if you decide you don't like it, then you can come back another time and try a different game. But I don't know if they'll change that or not. Either way, I don't think that's something they necessarily need for profits, but that would be a cool thing to go along with this whole reboot, because if they want you to stay and hang out, having a demo for a game that you can play while hanging out would definitely be an added bonus to this reboot.
Right. I mean, they would have to have something, right? Because the only other option would be to buy a game, which I guess could work.
Yeah.
And then you could play it in store. But they would have to have at least something for you to
try
play,
it.
I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. Like I said, the video to it is the video tour or whatever is going to be in the description and the show notes, assuming it didn't get pulled. But if this wasn't an accidental leak and it was something that was planned, then it'll still be there.
I think it was planned.
But this sounds really, really awesome. The other, oh no, that was esports. Never mind. I was thinking of the other style store, but there's the esports focused ones, the retro games focused ones, which is the one in the video, and then a more traditional design similar to what they already have now. I'm sure it's still going to be slightly different just to kind of go along with the reboot, but this reboot sounds like exactly what GameStop needs to stand out and stay alive. They're offering something that no other store can provide. They're offering something that you can't get by buying the game online. They're offering something more than just physical games, which is starting to slow down, and is becoming an unprofitable market. And they're doing something different that you can't get anywhere else, which is exactly what they need. So I'm very excited to see how this does. I'm very excited to try one of those stores out. I don't want to go all the way to Pryor, Oklahoma to do it. That just happened to be the one that got quote unquote leaked.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely very excited for this.
Yeah, I am too. I am still very interested to see how it's going to make it profitable.
Yeah.
Because they obviously need to make profit other than people just loitering.
Yeah.
So I am interested to see what they're going to do when it comes to making money. But I am excited to see what they've come up with so far.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think they're still making most of their money off of GameStop Pro subscriptions, which they still have multiple millions of people on that. But either way, that's not going to be enough to keep the stores alive.
Right. I mean, they obviously need to make money from how many changes they've made firing wise. So I mean, they obviously are still in trouble. So they need to make money.
Because they're not going to make money by cutting stores. They're just going to slow down. They're going to slow the decline. They're going to slow the amount that they're paying, but they're still going to be paying.
Right, and they're going to be spending a lot of money to redo so many stores.
Yeah. But it's definitely an investment. And if they can afford the investment, then this sounds like a Hail Mary pretty much.
Gotta risk it for the biscuit.
Yeah. But I mean, I still love GameStop as a store just because the experience that I always get when I go in is preferable over any other store. You know, there's people to talk to whenever I go to buy a new game or to pre-order something or to buy, online wallet money for PlayStation or Steam or Nintendo eShop stuff. But when you go in, you talk to one of the sales associates and they know what they're talking about. They talk about the games that they're looking forward to. You talk about the games you're looking forward to, and it turns into instead of just walking in and walking out, you get a good 10-minute conversation out of it.
Right.
And you walk away satisfied with your experience every time you go. I've always been a fan of GameStop for that reason. I'm still sour about them letting go of the Game Informer people, and I'm still going to be sour about that for a while. But overall, I understand why it had to happen. It just sucks that it did.
Right.
But I'm excited to see where this goes because I really do want GameStop to survive. I don't particularly like buying everything online. I like the experience of going to the store. I like the experience of having a copy of the game in hand. I like having the option to return it to help pay for a new game. I know that doesn't help the developers, but I try to make sure that I still buy games new so that developers are still getting paid for it. But when you're on a budget, you have to make cuts somewhere.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, overall, like I said, I still like GameStop as a store. I know they get a bad rep because they like hoarding their money, and it's like, well, they're going bankrupt. They're out of options.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I am looking forward to this. I'm sure we'll talk about it more as more news comes out with that. I think the video tour is still there. I think you watched it before we started recording, so it hasn't gone anywhere. Yeah, it's still there. So you'll be able to watch that. It'll be in the show notes, but I think that pretty much wraps up our conversation on that.
Yeah.
I wrote down some games that are out this week. I forgot to change this one. Destiny 2 Shadowkeep does not come out this week. It comes out, what did you say it comes out?
October 1st.
Yeah. And I looked that up, and everywhere is saying October 1st now. Apparently, that was wrong. That was in Game Informer's printed magazine, so that might have changed after it was already printed.
Probably.
But one game that I am excited for coming out actually it's out today, is Castle Crashers Remastered on Switch. I played Castle Crashers on the Xbox 360 back in the day. I never owned it, but my cousin did, and it was a very fun game. I'm probably going to get it and play it in the car with my brother and his girlfriend on our way to Champaign. Because our parents are going too, and I think my dad's probably going to drive most of the way, so we'll be able to play that in the car possibly, if I can stomach it. Because if I'm playing a game, I can't play very long in the car.
Yeah, I get sick too.
So that's out today. As of this recording, it's obviously already out if you're listening to this now. Puzzle Quest: The Legend Returns is coming out on Switch on the 19th. That would be this Thursday, excuse me. Yeah. And then on the 20th, on Friday, Link's Awakening is out. Ni no Kuni: Wrath of the White Witch, and Untitled Goose Game is coming to Switch, which is essentially a stealth game where you play a goose pissing people off. And it looks hilarious and really fun. And I haven't played it before, but I've definitely heard of it. I do want to check that out.
It does look kind of funny.
Yeah. Did you see a trailer for it?
I haven't seen the trailer, but I've looked at images of it, and it looks cute. And
it's a cute aesthetic. It's a cute artistic aesthetic for sure.
Yeah. And I am always a fan of making people's day a little troublesome when I can. Not in real life, but if I can use a goose to do it, sure, why not?
Yeah, in a game. Untitled Goose Game is one I definitely want to try. And I've never played Puzzle Quest, but it's an interesting, if you don't know what it is, it's a very interesting take on the Match 3 game. Most Match 3 games are like, okay, it's the same, it's totally randomized. This one is an adventure game where you control the combat by doing Match 3 puzzles. So like certain colors are certain spells and certain moves, and like you're in a battle. I'll put a trailer in.
Is it kind of like the mobile games where it's like Candy Crush and stuff like that, where you have to like hit stuff to make something happen?
Yeah, so like you're matching 3 things together. It's like I want to say that Bejeweled was like one of the first games that did it.
Oh, probably.
Bejeweled is definitely one of the early ones. The original Bejeweled, not the ones that you have on your phone, but
yeah.
Birth of the Match 3.
Bejeweled was 2001, so
that sounds about right. The Birth of the whatever. I'll look up and correct myself in the show notes. I had to do that last week too, because I said Star Fox was the first game to use polygons, but it was the first to do it, but not the first to do it ever. It was the first game on a home console to do it.
It looks like there was a game called Puzzle Fighter, and it looks from 1994.
That might be the first. I don't know. I'll look up. Yeah. I'll dig deeper and find out what the first game of that was, or of that genre was, or whatever invented that genre. And actually, it might just be Tic-Tac-Toe. Might have been the first one, if you think about it.
Yeah, true.
Either way, so those are the games coming out this week. I'm sure there's plenty other ones, but those are kind of the big ones. Link's Awakening is definitely the biggest one out of all of these, I think. Would have been Destiny 2, but that must have changed. Either that or it was a
Yeah.
typo. Either way. So Destiny 2 Shadowkeep comes out October 1st, not September 17th. Yeah, I think that wraps up everything that we wanted to talk about pretty much. This weekend, I started playing... I'm still playing Control. I'm still trying to finish that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still playing Snake Pass here and there. I got a lot better at it this weekend. It was a lot less frustrating. But I also started playing a game on my phone called The Room, which is a very interesting puzzle game. You can play the first like full puzzle for free, and then the full game is $1. So it's not expensive, but if you're into puzzle games and like, it's not a deductive puzzle, but it's all about solving.
It's like the escape room kind of thing.
Yeah, a little bit.
In a game.
A little bit, but you're solving this insane, like you're solving this sort of, it's like a crazy lockbox. Like it has all these crazy different mechanisms that you have to try and figure out how to solve that unlock each other. So like there'll be like different panels on the side of one that, like, if you solve something on one panel, it unlocks something on the other side of the box. And then you're messing with that, and it's super cool. And there's an interesting story based in it, where like there's a journal that you're reading throughout the game, that kind of the scientist that's studying a fifth element of some kind. You know, you have water, air, fire, and earth, and then there's a fifth one that is called null, or nothingness, sort of, or the void, or whatever, or space, like as this whole different thing, or a fourth dimension or something. I don't know. Either way, it's really interesting, and it goes deeper into that story as you play. But the puzzles itself is super fun and really rewarding when you figure it out. And if you're having trouble, there's like each portion or each puzzle, like each sub puzzle, is it has hints, and so you'll have multiple hints, but like they get more and more obvious as you start. So like the first one is like, I wonder what this does, and it's just a little subtle hint at, oh, you should probably look at that. And then the third one, and then like the last hint straight up just gives you the answer. So it's like if you're having trouble, you can get a little bit of a hint, and if you're still having trouble and getting frustrated, it'll give you a little bit more of an obvious hint, and then the last one just straight up gives it to you. So if you're getting frustrated, it shows you, it'll yeah, check it out. It's cool.
It does sound interesting.
It's very fun. I'm super into it. And there's more than just The Room. There's like The Room 2, and there's a couple more games in the series, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I like puzzles like that, and it's like it's definitely my jam in terms of puzzle games. But what have you been playing? Have you had time to play anything this weekend?
Friday night, well, Saturday I worked a wedding, so I didn't play Saturday. But Friday night, we played some GTA 5, and then we hit up Human Fall Flat because they added a new level.
Ooh.
So that was fun. And then Sunday, we messed around on Borderlands 3. Because that just came out.
Oh, that's right. That came out, what, Friday?
I think so, yeah.
I've only played Borderlands 2, but I've only played like up until like the first dungeon or first instance or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, because I never owned it, but it's something that I've always wanted to play.
It's not bad. I had played a little bit of Borderlands 2, not a lot of it, just to see what it was like. But what's nice about Borderlands 3 is that they have the competition mode, which is when you play like with your friends.
Yeah.
Borderlands 1 and 2 was like this, where if you play with your friends and you come across like a box or something, and there's like a gun in it, like whoever picks it up, that's it. They get the gun. Nobody else has a chance to. So they have competition, or they have what do they call it? Co-operative or something like that. Like something silly, because Borderlands is nothing but silliness. it's like same kind of thing where if you run across a box and there's guns in it, literally everybody sees the gun and everybody has a chance to get it, and it goes according to your level. So like Clock Tower's level like 26 while I'm level 11. So he'll see a gun in there for 26 or somewhere around there while I'll see for my level. So it's kind of it's nice that everyone has, like, you don't have like somebody stealing a gun and be like, what gun? I didn't see a gun. You know, like you don't have any like shadiness from your friends, which is nice. But it's a fun game, and it's fun to just mess around, whether you're doing the mission, side missions. Whenever you come across a boss, they do their usual like they do the intro card where it shows the name and then it says like something silly. Like the first one, they show his name. I can't remember what his name was, but it was like, but his tagline was like, brought a knife to a gunfight. So it's a cute game. It's fun. It's not something that I can invest a lot of time in because it's one of those games where I get bored a little easily just if I play for too long. But it is still something I'm able to go back to and keep playing.
Mm-hmm. I kind of want to get Borderlands 3, but it's like I'm big on story, so it's like I'm afraid that if I jump into Borderlands 3, there's going to be a bunch of lore that I missed out on from the first few games. Does it?
I'm not having any issue with that. Like, there's a lot of characters that are in past games, but it's nothing like... It's not like Kingdom Hearts, where, like, you have a bunch of characters talking about each other. You're like, who the heck is this thing? It's just kind of like you walk into it, you're like, oh, here's a person. Like, Lilith is the main siren, and she's, like, the biggest character of them all. And like I said, I played just a tiny bit of 2, and then I went into 3, and I kind of know a little bit about just a couple characters, but the rest of them, it's like, whatever. And they have enough of a story to themselves where whether you know them or not, you can figure out their character pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do want to give that a try, but it's like there's so many games that I want to play that it's overwhelming as it is. Like I know I need to finish Control. I still want to finish the Assassin's Creed Odyssey DLC, which I haven't played in a little while. I think I'm gonna put Ace Attorney on the back burner and come back to that when I have more time.
Mm-hmm.
And I still want to finish Snake Pass. I still want to get into Blair Witch. There's another bigger game that came out recently that I haven't had time to get to. I forgot what it was already. Like the main ones that I want. I think the main ones I still want to finish are Control and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, because I do want to finish those so I can move on to something new without those hanging over my head.
Right.
Because I'm still enjoying them and I want to try and finish those.
Yeah.
Because I do want to get.
I want to get Link's Awakening for sure. But then a lot of my games, like I either have beaten all my games already, or I'm just, like in waiting mode. Like I'm waiting for episode. Shoot, what episode are we on? 4? 5?
5. Episode 4 is
Life is Strange.
Crap. Yeah, that's the other thing. That's what it was. I need to play that still. I haven't played episode 4 yet.
Yeah, it's a good one. You still need to do that. Yeah, so I'm waiting on episode 5. I'm gonna get Link's. Luigi's Mansion's not out till next month. Yep. And then Animal Crossing's not out till March.
And we have time before that.
And so there's just like I'm in limbo, video game limbo right now.
Yeah, but it's like fall's coming up, and we're about to get bombarded with a bunch of games. You know, the Jedi Fallen Order's coming.
True.
Death Stranding is coming. Link's Awakening is already coming at this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, people that play Destiny, thankfully, I don't have to worry about that because I don't play it. But
that's true. I'm going to be stuck in that one for a little bit.
Yeah, and it's like trying to find the time to play all these games. It's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm going to be working full time.
And Clock Tower both took off from work. Like they requested days off from work. So Clock Tower will be coming here on October 4th. And then they're going to spend the entire weekend on Shadowkeep.
Yeah, see, it's like you need to do that. You got to take a couple days off to put so much time in this. And it's like, I think I need to do that at some point. Just try and crunch to get everything done for the podcast so that I have more days in 1 week to time with the editing, and it's like I gotta stop doing that if I want more time to myself.
Right.
Yeah,
it's hard to find a balance when you're trying to grow a business or podcast or whatever.
Hello everyone, thank you for listening to this episode of the BigSlice Gamescast. Unfortunately, there was some trouble with the recording as we got into the outro portion of the episode, but Jessica's plug was saved. I can't say the same for myself, so I'll go ahead and add it here in post. Thank you all for listening. You can find the BigSlice Gamescast on SoundCloud, Spotify, and iTunes, and on YouTube later in the week. You can follow BigSlice Games on Twitter and Facebook at BigSlice Games, and you can find me on Twitter at StrobeOfficial, that's STROBBE, official, all one word. Thanks so much for listening. Bye!
You can find me on Twitter at PhoenixLeeJS, or if you're interested in seeing any of my photography, especially of like the last wedding or whatever, you can find me on all handles at JLBoone, BOONE photography. Bye!